You ever have one of those days where you swear the universe is just daring you to lose your mind? Yeah, that was me the moment I moved into what was supposed to be my dream home tucked away up in the Georgia mountains. All I wanted was some quiet, a place to breathe. But what I got instead was a war, one I never signed up for, one that came with forged paperwork, bogus signs, and a homeowners association president with the kind of energy you'd expect from a cult leader, not a neighbor. It started, like these stories always do, not with a bang, but with a knock. Well, two knocks actually. First, the sound of my own heart pounding as a sheriff's cruiser rolled into my gravel drive while I was still hauling boxes out of my truck. I thought maybe it was a delivery, or, hell, maybe I'd parked in the wrong spot. But nope, two officers step out, one looking bored, the other looking like he'd love nothing more than to ruin someone's day. "You the owner here?" I said yeah, wiped the sweat and insulation dust off my hands, tried to look neighborly. They tell me the HOA president claims I'm squatting on her territory, violating some so-called community development standards. You know what I mean? It was like I'd woken up in a bad TV drama. I showed them every document I had, county deed, state permits, zoning maps, all laminated and labeled because, call me paranoid, but I knew damn well this was coming sooner or later. The older cop flips through it, lets out a sigh, says I'm technically not breaking any law they can enforce, but warns me she's escalating it to county compliance, whatever that means. I stood there in the dust, deed in my hand, wondering how long it'd take before this woman realized I wasn't backing down. Next morning, I thought I could finally settle in. Made some coffee, sat on the porch, watched the fog roll over the ridge. Then the mail came, a thick, self-important envelope screaming HOA on the return address. Inside, a letter welcoming me to the neighborhood and threatening me in the same breath, insisting my home was out of compliance with the Silverbrook Regional Residency Compact, which, trust me, doesn't exist. The cherry on top? An offer to rent one of their soulless, beige houses for $7,200 a month. Basically pay protection money to avoid escalated measures. Yeah, that happened. I forwarded it to every official I could think of, zoning department, attorney general, even my lawyer Rachel, who didn't even sound surprised. "Welcome to the fun," she said, then sent over a cease and desist template like she was ordering lunch. By the time I dropped it at the post office and copied the mayor for good measure, I figured maybe, just maybe, I'd bought myself a breather. Instead, I get home to find a new sign hammered to my fence. Silverbrook Community Oversight Zone begins here. Bold, official looking, total crap. County property too, so I yanked it off and kept it as a trophy. A week goes by and here come the county inspectors, two guys in city vests, hard hats, the works, telling me they're doing a zoning and architectural aesthetics inspection because of a complaint filed by, you guessed it, the HOA. They spouted off about excessive verticality, non-conforming sight lines, aesthetic disharmony. My house sits a mile from the nearest Silverbrook property. You couldn't see it with a drone and a prayer. I called Rick from the county office, a straight shooter who hates HOA politics, and within 15 minutes he was there in his Jeep, binder in hand, quoting county code chapter and verse. Turns out my land is exempt, not subject to any private covenant, and as Rick pointed out, aesthetic harmony isn't even a legal requirement. The inspectors packed up and left, mumbling about just following orders. Rick showed me a doctored map the HOA tried to slip into official records, my property now miraculously inside their boundaries. It was Photoshop, plain and simple, with proposed integration zones scribbled across the top. "They're getting bolder," Rick said, flipping the page to show it wasn't filed anywhere official. And that was the first real twist. This wasn't just neighbor drama. It was a straight-up land grab. That night, I couldn't sleep, turning over every letter, map, and permit, looking for cracks. Rachel calls in the morning, her tone shifting from amused to deadly serious as she lays it out. This is a pattern. The HOA's president, Karen Darrow, runs a shell LLC that owns all the properties for rent, and her husband Gregory, ex-code enforcement, is the muscle behind the scheme. She'd found cases where neighbors just gave up and left, elderly folks harassed until they moved out. It was a business model: intimidate, annex, rent, repeat. That was it for me. I decided to go public. I pulled together every bit of evidence I had. Video of inspectors, fake maps, The bogus sign, screenshots of Google Maps showing my land listed as managed by Silverbrook HOA, and recorded a video, just me, the house, and the mountains behind. I laid it all out, how I bought the land, built the house by hand, followed every law, and now I was being bullied by an HOA I'd never joined. I posted it online, and by nightfall, it was blowing up. Local news picked it up, and suddenly Silverbrook's website went offline. But my favorite part? Rick texted me a photo of Karen and Gregory, binder in hand, trying to file their fraudulent maps at the county office. 3 days too late, and already flagged. Things got weird after that. It was almost quiet, too quiet, like the calm before the next storm. So I doubled down. More cameras, floodlights, motion sensors, cloud backups, the works. That Saturday, while I was in town for lumber, I got a motion alert. Not a deer, not the neighbor's dog. HOA security, right there on my porch, jamming a fat envelope through my mail slot and taking pictures of my house like he was casing the joint. Inside the envelope, a fake HOA contract with my name forged at the bottom, witnessed by Gregory. It was laughably bad, but Rachel wasn't laughing. "That's a felony," she said. "Forgery, criminal trespass, the works." I filed a police report and handed over the footage. The deputy looked at the video and shook his head. Amateurs. But it was serious. If they filed this contract anywhere official, it was fraud on top of everything else. Sure enough, next thing I know, Rachel calls. Someone's filed the fake contract with the county property office. I was furious, but I saw my opening. Now we had a paper trail, hard evidence of fraud, forgery, and a racketeering pattern. Rachel went nuclear. We filed a civil RICO suit naming Karen, Gregory, the HOA, and their shell company. We blasted the whole story online, billboard, website, the works. Emails poured in. People across the country who'd been hit with the same tactics, fake compliance claims, forced rentals, even Google map tampering. Media pressure built up fast. County subpoenaed all HOA records. Suddenly Karen resigned in a hasty letter, offering to resolve all matters amicably. And Rachel handed that straight to the FBI. Next day, 2 federal agents show up on my porch, polite as you please, saying, "We'd like to talk about a pattern of misconduct involving HOAs." I poured them coffee and gave them every file I had. That afternoon, they hit Silverbrook's office. Squads of agents, boxes of files, hard drives, the whole place locked down. Karen got perp-walked in a tan pantsuit, sunglasses on, looking like someone just told her she'd have to fly coach. Gregory was picked up at a golf resort. 2 other board members hauled in, and the county zoning liaison suspended. Silverbrook was frozen. No meetings, no dues, no more threats. The residents, once so eager for order, now furious. They found out their dues had been lining Karen's pockets, their leases were bogus, and their homes weren't even legally zoned. A class action suit launched. The county cleared my land, sent an official letter noting my property had never been under HOA authority. I bolted that sucker to my gate. But the real trophy? A DOJ attorney delivered a federal case folder, my name listed as material witness and victim in a criminal RICO investigation. The fallout was quick and, honestly, kind of beautiful. Karen tried to claim innocence. Gregory folded and gave up every email. The HOA dissolved by court order, assets liquidated, rentals sold, every illegal dollar clawed back. And the community? They voted 82% to nuke the HOA from orbit. Gone, wiped clean, all records struck. But I wasn't done. The billboard stayed up, now updated. Private land is not for rent, not for sale, not for Karen. The website, stoptheannex.org, exploded with stories from around the country. Rachel and I started a nonprofit to help other homeowners fight back. Legal templates, tutorials, everything we'd learned in one brutal, cinematic showdown. Now, I get visitors, veterans, retirees, young couples building off-grid. Folks drive from hours away just to shake my hand or show their kids what standing your ground really looks like. There's a sign on my gate now, private land. Not for rent, not for Karen. Permanently outside all HOA jurisdiction. Every time I see it, I remember that first knock, the forged contract, the fake maps, all the noise they threw at me. And then I remember the knock from the FBI. See, you don't beat people like this by playing their game. You beat them by refusing to play, by documenting, by by refusing to give up, by building something so solid they can't touch it. Because property lines aren't just lines on a map. They're boundaries of who we are, what we stand for, and what we're willing to defend. So, tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Was I right to stand my ground, or did I go too far? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear your stories, your verdict on justice, and your take on where freedom ends and community begins. And if you've ever been in a fight like mine, don't give up. Document everything, and never, ever let anyone redraw your boundaries.